Well, welcome y'all to the first episode of the UX Roundtable for 2021. Happy New Year to everybody. I'm joined by Deborah Roberts and Abbey Smith of the UpTop Health UX design team. And again, the roundtable is meant to glean insights, hear stories from the team to hopefully help you guys on your future projects, or just in general, just learn from us. The topic for today is design thinking and how design thinking has impacted, you guys in your professional career. And, I'd just like to hear, how that has happened. And how about we start with you, Abbey?
Sure. So, design thinking, being a UX designer, it kind of hits every part of the job essentially. But some of the big ones for me, at least, it helps me stay honest, especially to my conscious or unconscious biases that I have, like working through a specific problem. And then also because the entire process is so human-centric, which is a really wonderful thing that it is, it helps me make sure that the user stays in the front of everything that we do, especially when thinking of solutions. And then I think lastly, like the last big thing is it helps me stay open to new possibilities at all stages of the project. So when you're working on something solo and then you come back into working with a group, you get a nice balance of work and ideas that can build off of one another. And depending on the project still, but at the end, maybe when you are closer to prototyping and something more final, you get a new possibility that comes knocking at the door. It could be something worth looking at. So it kind of helps everyone stay open to anything that could happen.
Mm-hmm. And do you ever find yourself in a situation where you maybe only practice certain aspects of the design thinking mindset, the tool set?
I think that's kind of client-based and project-based. Sometimes people just need help getting off the ground, like getting out of the rut that they're in and doing some ideation and strategy sessions. And so maybe you're not going all the way to a prototype and a final developed product. Or sometimes people have kind of already done that with maybe another agency. And then now they need help kind of pushing it through to the end. So I think it kind of can be split up in any way that you need it to.
Right. What about yourself, Deborah?
Yeah, well, I think for me, the big thing with design thinking is that it really starts and ends with the users. And the process really helps you to make sure that you're solving the right problems, because you can come up with a great solution, but if it's not solving the right problem, then it's not really going to get you or the client the result that you want. And for those that are new to the design thinking process, so it starts with empathize. So we're doing research to learn about the users and to help build empathy. And then we're moving into define. And that part I think is really great because then you're bringing in, ideally different people with different perspectives. And that helps you to come up with different ideas because you all are coming from different viewpoints. And then it can also help to bring alignment with the team, which is one of the things that I really love about the process. And then you move on to ideate and you're looking at how you can make this customer more successful and trying just to think outside of the box. And that way you're not just narrowed in. So I think sometimes it's easy to just narrow in on one path. But the great thing about design thinking is that it makes you try and think out of the box. You're forced to and explore, kind of crazy ideas and different ways of doing things. And then when you're prototyping and testing, you're really bringing it back to that user again to validate and make sure you're not just, going off of your own assumptions, making sure that their needs are really met.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Do you guys have a favorite part of the process?
Maybe in the beginning, I don't know, it's hard to say. I love the research, in the beginning and learning about the customer. That to me is always super interesting. And then at the end, after you've done that research, coming back to see if you've actually solved the problem is really fun.
Yeah. What about you, Abbey?
I mean, ditto. I think all of us get into this work is because we like helping people, right? So
Right.
learning what their issues are and then making sure you get to like check those off as you go through your design process is pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I just wanted to take a few minutes to talk about my thoughts. It's a little bit different because, coming from where I came from, I was a in-house product designer for many years. Most recently, before UpTop was Big Fish Games. And, at that time, I didn't really um, hear too much about the design thinking process, although we were actually practicing elements of it. I think it's different when you're an in-house designer on a product team, because for one, oftentimes you're working with a product manager or owner who is the one that's gathering all the requirements. So in essence, they're the ones who are doing all the discovery. And oftentimes they're the ones that they're told to not bother the designers until the requirements are fleshed out. Otherwise, you're wasting their time, right? And also when you're part of working for a product company, your users are pretty much set. They don't usually change. And so that persona is something that's there, you don't really think about. Unlike us at an agency, that's always changing depending on the client we're working with. And we always have to do our own discovery, right? So I think that's the biggest, I would say, difference from where I came from to where I am now. And, being on that in-house product team, we did the ideation piece of it. I think that's the same. We did a lot of prototyping as well. And I think that's one of the things that, I would like to say that I brought over to UpTop, because when I first came over, there wasn't that much prototyping that was going on. There was some, but most of it was focused on the output, actually. There was a lot of annotations and redlining and that kind of thing. But to be fair, there was no Zeppelin at the time. There was no, XD. So super thankful for those products, because now we get to focus more on the actual high value items, right? And not those things where now it's all automated. But yeah, I think at agency, the design thinking mindset, the tools, that process is very much highlighted end to end. And I think that's the awesome piece of really leveraging this framework. And I know a lot of folks, have certain thoughts about whether it works or not. But I think for us, where we're always budget conscious or resource strapped, we're always thinking lean. I think it really fits into our mold of thinking. So yeah, I personally have found a lot of value in it, and I think you guys would agree. And I think that especially the prototyping aspect, right? The clients really having that tangible aspect has really changed things, because back then when we were just providing screens and PDFs, I mean, that didn't do it, because they had trouble connecting what went to where, no matter how much annotations you put, like this button would go to here, it just didn't, it's not the same. It's not the same. Yeah. But anyways, those are my thoughts. I don't know if you guys have anything to add on top of that.
I would agree with the prototyping, like bringing that into any sort of work you were doing. Like, I know in previous jobs too, I was doing more of like experiential work, and we made a mini model of what was going to go as the huge big event, and showed the client, and they were like, yeah. Like everything connected, it all worked, and they're like, yes, go do it. So it's small, but like it has a really big impact.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about the usability testing piece of it, right? But that's the thing that it's the icing on the cake and really wraps up all the work that is put into that process. And I think for the client, you know, just because you put forward a concept design doesn't really mean anything until you say, hey, we've actually vetted this.
Yeah.
Works.
And then it really empowers them, I think, to take the next steps, whether that's getting other stakeholders on board or having the data they need to make the best decision about their business.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely. Yeah. So anyways, you know, super excited to keep, you know, working with this tool set, and hopefully, you know, you guys out there who aren't yet doing design thinking workshops or you know have yet to implement that into your process, don't fear. I think it's actually quite easy to do, you know, and I don't think you can, you know, you need to limit it to your professional, you know, whether you're a designer or, you know, you work in the digital industry. It's not limited to that. You know, there's just so many aspects of, I think, the design thinking process that you can just apply to your personal life. You know, I know that sounds weird, but really, you know, the bias towards action can apply towards anything. So anyway, cool. Well,
Awesome.
great topic. We'll talk soon. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.